Everybody, it's Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast, where it's good to be back. It's me, your man, MG Marcas Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and LaQuan Jones. You guys were pointing out to me that this is the first time in, 30 days that we have all been together for a podcast? That's wild. Yeah. It's good to see you guys.
I actually forgot to put my headphones on. Like, we're a little rusty here, man.
I was like half joking. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to know, how to do this. I mean, for a while, Florio, you were on vacation. You drove the entire length of the West Coast of the United States. I pretty much drove like 2 hours north and south of me. Went to Santa Barbara for a little bit. Went to San Diego for a little bit.
Sick.
Yeah, it was cool. LaQuan, you were just kind of here, huh?
Hey, man, LA is my vacation. I appreciate living here.
All right. That's good.
I went to Big Bear for 4th of July this weekend. Like you guys know, Big Bear's like less than 100 miles out of LA. It took me over 4 hours. I was like, I'd much rather be driving up the coast right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, obviously it's a very popular spot for 4th of July. And so if you don't hit it right, all that traffic going up the mountain is going to take you some time to get there for sure.
Yikes.
So here we are, though. We're back together again. As we get ready, training camp just around the corner. A lot of teams going to be opening up camps very, very soon. Fingers crossed, we are trying to get our way to a couple of camps. There are camps within a short drive of us, including the Chargers, who I kid you not, their camp is 15 minutes from where I sit right now. On surface
you ever go, like,
streets.
jump over the fence and like...
15 minutes on surface streets. My kid does he has a coding. He has like a coding class that he does on Saturdays. And I tell you that it is around the corner from the Chargers practice facility.
That's cool.
So hopefully we can beg our way to training camp for the Rams and the Chargers and hopefully bring you some content from there. Fingers crossed on that. We'll let you know.
I will say, I kind of have an in. I started going to a new barber and he was like, I also cut Justin Herbert's brother's hair. So like, maybe we could leverage that to get Justin Herbert to join.
Yeah, man, see if we can get Herbo on for sure. So it's been a while since we've all been together. We're gonna do some hype train or smoke screen sort of things, some kind of rumor and innuendo kind of things. LaQuan had an interesting tweet that he put out, kind of a what if sort of about some wide receivers. So kind of want to get into the poll that you guys put together, LaQuan, and some of the things that the people had to say about it. And in case you have not been on the interwebs recently, the Scott Fish Bowl has begun. SFB 15 is underway. So we will talk about kind of where we are in that one. Although, LQ, you are done because you did one of the live drafts. Florio and I are doing the slow draft. So we'll kind of talk about what we know about our teams so far. I can tell you for me, it ain't much, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. So first, we'll do some hype train or smoke screen. Obviously, it's been a while since all of us have been together, but even still been a while since we talked to you, since we took all of last week off with the 4th of July holiday, and hopefully it was a happy, safe, and healthy one for everybody across the country. So some big things have happened since we last spoke to you. Kind of want to get through some of those. There's a tight end shuffle. The big part of this was not actually the tight end. It was the Dolphins trading Jalen Ramsey to the Steelers with Minkah Fitzpatrick going the other way and a pick swap as well. But involved in that was Jonnu Smith going from Miami to Pittsburgh. He of the forcing LaQuan to dye his hair blonde after having a career year. So now he goes to Pittsburgh. He teams up with Aaron Rodgers. They've got DK Metcalf. LaQuan, since you are our resident Jonnu Smith expert, I guess, how are we feeling about Jonnu in the Steel City?
I'm feeling good about him there. Fantasy expectations have been drawn a little back, though. They're not as high as they were last season, obviously with Pat Freiermuth there. But I think it's a good match, him reuniting with Arthur Smith for the last ride, for the third trio ride, and I definitely think that there's some appeal there of that offense now. Like, it's not completely boring. Let's just say that, like you have Aaron Rodgers there, DK Metcalf, and now you have a possible second option of that offense. But how much of a pass volume offense is this going to be where Arthur Smith obviously wanting to run the ball? So it's like one of those things, like you're happy he got the move he wanted. Hopefully they extend him, and hopefully we get Jonnu a flash of what he did last season.
So does this mean, Florio, that the Muth is no longer Luth?
Yeah, it's over for the Muth. And the thing about the Arthur Smith 2 tight end sets, which, look, he likes to use that. We know that. We saw that going back to Atlanta and Tennessee and all of that. But one tends to do a lot more blocking than the other. And I think that will be Pat Fryermuth's role. And like, he'll have a game here or there, right, where he catches a touchdown or maybe a couple of plays go his way or something like that. But I don't think it's going to be anything where you could even get anywhere close to saying it's consistent or anything like that. So I'm not interested in him at all for fantasy. I will say, if Jonnu Smith is cheaper now, I'm more in, because I was out on Jonnu in Miami. I just thought last year they manufactured a lot of touches for him by design because they had to get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly. There's less target comp here, but also the Steelers need to get Aaron Rodgers the ball out of his hands quickly. Like, Rodgers wasn't airing it out and stuff. So if Jonnu gets a lot of those catch and run targets as the number 2 target, which I think he should be, if he starts going cheaper, closer to like tight end 12 in that range, then I could see myself taking maybe a share, a couple more shares. But I wasn't planning on really taking him much in the middle rankings of the tight end, top 12.
Yeah, I mean, just everything about the Steelers offense right now sort of screams mid to me, right? I mean, we talked about this before, right? We went a whole most of the offseason without speaking the name Aaron Rodgers, even though we all knew he was probably going to land in Pittsburgh at some point.
Voldemort.
Right? Like, and so like we're talking about, 40-something-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who the last time we saw him, didn't look like the guy who was an MVP. I mean, Father Time catches up to us all. We got DK Metcalf.
He hasn't looked like that guy in a while.
He looked like that guy in a while. He didn't look like that guy the last little bit in Green Bay. Forget about what happened with the Jets. You got DK Metcalf, who was fine his last year or so in Seattle, but really, I think has not come anywhere close to what his ceiling was earlier there with the Seahawks. Now they add Jonnu Smith. They have Jalen Warren in the backfield, who we sort of like, but we're not over the moon about. We're trying to figure out what Caleb Johnson is going to be. I mean, the Steelers have it looks like they've pushed their chips sort of into the middle of the table to try and compete in the division. And in the end, I just look at it and I'm like, so.
It's an offense.
It's of all the offenses in the NFL, that's one of them.
Pre-draft me would hate what I'm about to say, but Caleb Johnson is the Steeler I'm most interested in. Of all of their players.
I don't think you're wrong.
I'm not taking him over DK, but like at cost.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong about that.
The fantasy streets aren't talking about Caleb Johnson right now. I don't know why.
Are the fantasy streets talking about the Steelers at all? Like, I don't think they are.
They're hyping up DK to be a wide receiver 1 steal, and I'm not agreeing with that. I mean, we can get to another pod, but I'm not looking forward to DK Metcalf on my rosters.
Me neither. I was out on him before the pairing with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm seeing a lot of people slowly start to hype up Jalen Warren. I went year by year for Arthur Smith. And outside of that 1 year with Cordero Patterson, like the running back that's got the most touches is always like 200 and something. Like he's a sizist. He sees Jalen Warren and he's like, you're cool, but look at this guy. I want to feed him. Like that's what I think, at least.
That guy you're pointing to is Jonnu Smith on the 5-yard line right there. So there you go.
So I would say if there's any upside for Jonnu, it's that I just wonder whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to give him looks near the goal line. Right? Is that going to be a thing? Look, remember that year and a half where Robert Tonyan was kind of a thing in Green Bay? Jonnu Smith is way more athletic than Robert Tonyan.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he could be more of a weapon around the goal line than Tonyan ever was. So I'm sort of hoping that gives him at least some value, but still not enough for me to feel great about it.
To that point, Aaron Rodgers does lock in on one target in the red zone. Like every time he plays with Devontae Adams, you're like, okay, if he throws it here, we know it's going to Devontae. Like
right.
That could be DK, but DK, is he that kind of guy? I don't know.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see the mesh between Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith in that offensive mind of like what this will actually look like, because last season, Aaron Rodgers, we obviously knew like the ball wasn't going beyond 10 yards. It didn't look great. 22% of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage. So I guess great news for Jalen Warren or Jonnu Smith. So it's like he obviously knows his capabilities, his limits, but what is this offense going to look like when they are throwing the ball? Because the obvious would be DK Metcalf will be doubled or take DK out of the play. Like, I just don't know if that is going to be like
does he know his limits?
Offense.
I think in his head, he's like, I could air this out if I want.
I can still do it. I can do it.
It didn't look great last year.
The greats are the last one to accept that they don't got it.
They are the last ones to know. Exactly. They really are. So I guess the consensus on Jonnu Smith is, all right. But that did leave a tight end hole in Miami. I mean, unless you really believe in Pharaoh Brown, potentially. So the Dolphins are attempting to fill that void by acquiring Darren Waller, who comes out of retirement, and I assume is no longer making Timu Drake-style videos on the beach, being sad. He comes out of retirement and gets traded to Miami for a 6th-round pick in 2026. Now, the last time we saw Darren Waller, it was pretty forgettable. He had a couple down years with the Raiders, then he went to the Giants and had a very forgettable year there. I went and looked at the ADP. This was a couple days ago. I know maybe it's going to shift a little bit, but I think generally what I saw was that Darren Waller was like in the 20s when it comes to the tight end position.
Yeah, tight end 26.
Yeah,
that's going to go up.
You think it's going to go up? But how much does it go up then, Florio?
I think that's definitely going to. I mean, there's not 25 tight ends that. Because look, I think with Waller, you're accepting that the floor. We don't know what the floor is, but there's at least upside there, right? Like, I don't think there's 25 tight ends in the NFL that bring more upside than Darren Waller. I like him. I wouldn't even know if I would say I like him, but I think he should be going in the tight end 2 range. But like, he is someone you can pair. Like, say you take a safer tight end. I'm trying to think of like Jonnu Smith might be a good one, or Evan Ingram. It feels like a good one. Like a safe tight end. You could double down like in the later rounds and take Evan Ingram, because I do think there's some upside there. To me, it comes down to how he's going to be used. If they're going to, he's not going to block, right? Like, he retired rather than block for the Giants last year. So I think if they use him similar to how Jonnu was used, he could have some big games. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be what he once was. He hasn't been that in a couple of years, but even like 80% Darren Waller that we got the last couple of years was still a tight end 1 when he was on the field. It was just more, he couldn't stay on the field. So because of the health risk and the target competition and everything like that, like, I still have him behind the rookies. I would rather have Dalton Kincaid or Tucker Kraft. But then when you get into like the Likely and Kyle Pitts, like, I'd rather take a shot on Darren Waller than Pat Freiermuth or to me, I think Waller slides in with like the Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson, Brenton Strange, like that tier of tight ends, which is purely upside targets later in drafts.
So my only pushback on that is I don't know that I get down on upside with a tight end who is going to turn 33, I think, like very early in the season, right? In the first couple of weeks of the season, he hits his 33rd birthday. And the Darren Waller that we like to remember, we haven't seen that guy since 2020. He really had 2 good years as a fantasy tight end, right? He went for over 1,100 yards in back-to-back years with the Raiders, 2019 and 2020. Granted, injuries definitely helped keep him down those last couple of years in Vegas and again with New York. So let me ask you then this, Florio, and you can answer too as well, LaQuan.
Sweet.
Darren Waller or Tyler Warren?
Tyler Warren all day.
Chika Conco, Mason Taylor, Cade Otton, Zach Ertz, Mike Gesicki, LaQuan Jones.
Gesicki.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
All over
Again,
Waller.
not trying to be the Darren Waller guy, but even 2 years ago, he averaged 1.8 yards per route ran. That would have been top. I think that would have been, there was only 10 tight ends last year who averaged that. So like again, it's not what it once was, but tight end is, I think we have like summer goggles on right now. Like, tight end gets gross real quick once the season starts.
Really quick.
So Florio, are you going to download his next album when he drops?
No. I don't listen to any athlete's music. I watched him on the field, you know?
Yeah. By the way, LaQuan, the reason I sort of winced when you said Mike Gesicki is that for me, Mike Gesicki has become shorthand for frustratingly disappointing tight end, right? Like,
yes,
like that guy that you either you draft late or you pick him up off the waiver wire early thinking, all right, yeah, maybe I can just get a couple of touchdowns, and it just never happens. It's like, you know, if you're that
he's
guy,
the waiver wire you pick up. The moment that you hear Tee Higgins is injured, pick him up. That's just basically how it is. Like, that's just what I've actually acted on last season. Like, if Tee Higgins hurt, get Gesicki. Because he's going to run a ton of routes, and he's going to become like that middle of the field option for Joe Burrow. It's happened. Yeah. So I'd rather that than a Darren Waller fighting for targets for a Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane. Like, sure. I just can't see myself double tapping on tight end, even if I do go Evan Ingram, even if I do go like let's go later in the draft, Zach Ertz. Like, I can't even see myself bringing in like a Darren Waller, a retired 33-year-old rapper. Like, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah. I know the very wise and very funny Ian Harditz plays in a fantasy league that is 32 teams. Darren Waller will get drafted in that league. I'm pretty certain of it.
Jesus.
He's probably not going to get drafted because there's 32 teams. Like, at some point,
I'm asking why is there 32 teams?
Yeah, I can't begin to answer that question. But, you know, but for most leagues, Darren Waller is probably going to go undrafted. Breece Hall was asked about his goals for 2025, and he said, quote, just proving that I'm still one of the best in the league. Obviously, LaQuan, it's been a down year for Breece Hall. He has not really hit those heights that we saw when he first came into the NFL. Remember, he was coming off a knee, or he had that knee injury, I guess, his rookie year. And his second year, he came back and really showed us some things. The year after just was sort of underwhelming generally. When you look at Breece Hall, is this a talent thing or is this a usage thing in the offense?
It's a mixture of both, I would say, because like when you look at the timing of like the injury, like he was super explosive. He was the running back. He was the guy. But even then after that, returning back from injury, like the O-line was bad. The offensive play calling wasn't good. It wasn't great. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. Like all these things were just piling up on him and playing against him. But more so looking at maybe we get an understanding of his actual role. Like, is he going to be the pass catcher or is he going to be the every down back type of guy? And I think I like to look back when we go back to Tampa Bay with Leonard Fournette, where he had like 70 catches. Like, that could be Breece Hall and just have Braylon Allen run that 1-2 punch with him, which we're getting Tanner and Strand, you know, a bootleg version, a Timo version of the Sonic and Knuckles over there in New York, which is fine. I still want a piece of that. So I'm not completely fading Breece Hall. Like, I just think it was more so of a situational, and having Aaron Glenn now setting the culture, setting the standards, and having some type of play caller that's been in the likes of Ben Johnson on the sticks. Like, I think we can get Breece Hall to a point where like he can live between that top 12 area, maybe outside of that top 15, if he sees all the targets out of that backfield in that 1-2 punch.
Well, I'm in on Breece Hall.
Also, I was going to ask you though, Florio, because I know you're also a big Justin Fields guy, and it just seems that those two things don't mix.
That's going to be the narrative, but I don't agree with that at all. And the numbers don't either. Like, Justin Fields last year threw the same amount of passes to the backfield as Aaron Rodgers. They were both at 18%. And Justin Fields actually, per fantasy points data, had the highest checkdown rate in the NFL last year. So I do think it's possible that Breece Hall has he was top 3 in running back targets last year. And I think it's possible that he could be around that again. Plus, you ask it, like, literally, we ask him all the time on the show. Any running back tells you, like, playing with a mobile quarterback helps. But the other thing is exactly what LQ said with Tanner Engstrom coming from the Detroit Lions, who were always towards the top of the league in screen passes. Like, I think we're going to see Justin Fields playing a different style of ball than we had. Last year with the Steelers, they made that change where they asked him to throw a lot more shorter and quicker passes. I think they even build on that with Justin Fields this year and the new OC. Plus, the thing is, for years, literally every year, I believe, since he's entered the NFL, Breece Hall has been a first or early second round pick. Now you're getting him outside of the top 12 running backs in the third round, late third, sometimes even early fourth. Like, to me, I think the upside is really high. And like, you look at the rushing success rate last year, it was much improved from what it was 2 years ago. And I do think people are overhyping Braylon Allen a bit. Like, he is a good back. I'm not going to discredit that. But Breece Hall has the potential to be absolutely elite. So you add that in with Justin Fields' running ability and the fact that he does, in my opinion, throw to running backs more than he gets credit for. I think Breece Hall at an all-time low price right now is a buying opportunity.
So I think the thing with Breece Hall, I think when you look at a lot of the metrics, right, like explosive run rate, yards after contact per carry, those things he rates very well in terms of some of the advanced metrics that you want out of your running back. My fear, a little bit of the Justin Fields thing, it's just everything the Jets have told us suggests they want to use multiple guys, right? And I'm not even going to get into whether or not we think Braylon Allen is talented. Like, to this point, it doesn't matter. If they say they're going to use him, that's more of the issue right there. And you mentioned Sonic and Knuckles, right? In Detroit, LaQuan, the difference is the Lions score points. Like, that's it. The Lions move the football. They score points.
We're suggesting that the Jets can be better than what they were in the past, but I just think that
they can be better, but are they going to be good?
I think there's a case that this could be the best Jets offense Breece Hall has ever played in.
Yes, that could be an argument made. That could definitely be an argument made that this is literally the best offense that he's playing with a quarterback that's mobile, that can actually get the chains moving and draw that disguise, that confusion. Like, who's going to run the rock?
And my biggest concern is everyone's like, oh, is Braylon Allen going to get the goal line carries? No, my biggest concern is Justin Fields going to get those goal line carries on the tush push, because I think the Jets are going to do that.
Or even worse, is Justin Fields just going to take it in from like 15 yards out?
That too.
Is he going to break out of the pocket and just run it in from 15, 20 yards away? Yeah. And then none of the running backs get that look. Like, at all. This is why
I made that comparison with Leonard Fournette, because he had Rachaad White behind him running the rock. That could be Braylon Allen. I can see 70 catches on the table for Breece Hall this year, easy, and I think that will make him a top 12 PPR. If he gets 70,
how many carries are you projecting there?
I was gonna say, like, how much is it? Because you still got.
Because I don't think he's not gonna get much less than two. Like, he's never had less than 200 in a full year.
You still got to feed Garrett Wilson, right? You still.
I guess.
And no one else.
I was really trying to find another name. I was like,
Josh Reynolds,
Alan Lazard. I was like,
I just don't see a world where Breece Hall isn't the lead runner as well. Like, Braylon Allen might have a lot of, might be heavily involved, but he's not going to be used more than Breece Hall.
This is a Ben Johnson influence offense. We probably could have said the same thing of DeAndre Swift not taking the lead carries with Jamal Williams being the lead carrier. Like, these are things that can
Breece
happen.
Hall is better.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, at least. And I know everyone points to the Sonic and Knuckles thing, but that is maybe the greatest RB tandem in the last however many years,
Yeah. Certainly last 5 years or so.
Swift and Jamal will be right there in that top three, though.
So let's go last 5 years, right? Probably the best.
I don't know if it's
5 years.
Anywhere close to that.
Scoring wise, definitely.
No, talent wise, we're talking.
Yeah, efficiency wise, I guess. Whatever. Yeah.
I think Breece Hall is really talented. Long and short of it, I just feel like we're going to be frustrated by the usage in this offense.
I'm not drafting Braylon Allen. Mm-hmm.
I'm not drafting Braylon Allen. No. If the price is right, I'll draft Breece Hall. We'll see.
Fields and Breece Hall, they're like the only Jets I'm really.
All right. Last thing, Travis Kelce was asked about Travis Hunter and being a two-way player this year. And Travis Kelce basically said he thinks opponents are going to try to wear him out on defense. That basically, when he lines up there at corner, teams are just going to send receivers on downfield missions, and they're just going to make Travis Hunter run wind sprints, right? So if he's going to have a full workload on offense, play some occasional defense, it makes sense, right? Florio, you're a basketball guy. You think about it in basketball terms, you don't necessarily want your best offensive player guarding the other team's best offensive player, right? Like, you don't want, Luka Doncic is a bad example because he didn't play defense anyway. But
you hide Jalen Brunson every chance they get.
Right, but here's the thing. You don't want Jalen Brunson having to chase Steph Curry around for 40 minutes, right? Because you're just going to wear him out, and then that's going to hurt his offensive production. And I think Travis Kelce's basically saying sort of the same thing. If I'm the other team, I'm going to line up against Travis Hunter. I'm going to just have him run wind sprints over and over and over again, and then turn around and try to play offense as well. So it made me question. I'm going to get your answers for both of these. What is more likely for Travis Hunter by the time we get to week 10, right? Jaguars have their bye in week 8, so a couple games after that. So by week 10, will it be more likely to be 70-30 offensive snaps for Hunter, 50-50, or 70-30 defensive snaps, LaQuan?
That's a good question. I think Travis Kelce should have just kept the sauce to himself because he just kind of just told everybody, and now this is probably what's going to happen. But I would say by the end, I'm
sure the Jaguars have thought of this.
you sure hope, because wow, this is definitely a possibility. In the first 8 weeks, I mean, he's going to be burnt out if he's running this 50-50, how he thinks in his mind that he's going to be able to do. But back into the season, I could see him being more on the offensive side, like a 70-30 split, because defensively, hopefully there's some grounding there. Hopefully they improve from last season and not getting completely burnt out in the secondary. But I don't see the need for him to play 70% of defense when, he's that talented to be on offense. Like, we can compare him and have talks about him being one of those freak athletes in the conversation of a CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson, just based on his play style. So I don't see him playing that much of defense on the back end of the season.
Where you at, Florio, on that?
I agree. I think it'll be, if anything, it'll probably be 70-30 offense is just more valuable. And I know defense wins championships and all that, but then why are receivers paid way more than cornerbacks? And the Jaguars have been upfront about that, that they think that is where he is most valuable. But I do want to go back to something friend of the show, Emery Hunt, said back pre-draft, where he was like, the NFL game is less plays than the college game, where he played 50-50, and you get more breaks and more time in between plays and stuff. So I don't want to necessarily rule. I'm hoping they give him a chance to do both at a high rate. But if I had to guess, I think offense will be more his focus.
I definitely think it's going to be more of his focus. And maybe I should have rephrased the question. Do we see the ratio even go down, right? Maybe it starts at 70-30 offensive snaps, and maybe by the end we're down to 85-15 sort of thing too. Because I think the other thing to take into account, and we see this with rookies all the time, is you do sort of hit that rookie wall, right? I mean, Colorado last year played 13 games total with a month off in between game number 12 and game number 13, right? Because you finish your regular season and then you wait until your bowl game. So you play 12 games, pretty close to each other. Then you get a month to recover, and then you play game number 13. You're going to play 17 games with 1 week off during that stretch. And it's hard on guys who just play one side of the ball and only play a certain number of snaps. I know everybody talks about his stamina. I know that Hunter prides himself on that, and I'm very curious to watch it, and I wish him success. But I do think at some point, it's asking a lot out of everybody, to go do that. Also in the heat and humidity of Jacksonville versus Colorado.
I will say I'm surprised we didn't get a Trevor Lawrence shot in there from LQ.
No. Trevor Mid can sit on the sideline.
There it is. There it is right there. There it is right there. There it is right there. So I mentioned before the break, we'd done some positional what ifs. We talked about some guys and, what if they're better than we thought? What if they're worse than we thought? So on and so forth. We did wide receivers about a month ago. Actually, I think that was the last time we were all together, to be honest with you, as we did those.
I wasn't there for the wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. So never mind.
Of course, he wasn't there.
So never mind. But LaQuan, I know you do some stuff on SiriusXM radio. And you guys put out a poll recently, just this past weekend. I'm just going to read the poll question and the results. You're on the clock. It's the second round. You need a wide receiver one. Who are you picking here? The 4 options were Tee Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Ladd McConkey, Terry McLaurin. Ladd McConkey, I mean, it's kind of shocking that he was the winner. It's more shocking the margin by which he was the winner for me.
Yeah. Blew it out of the water.
Almost 45% for Ladd McConkey. Tyreek Hill was second at 24.5%. Terry McLaurin third at 18.3%. Tee Higgins came in last at 12.3%. So for the record, LaQuan, of those 4, who are you picking?
Tyreek Hill, hands down. And I have Tyreek Hill in a lot of my best ball drafts, and being able to get him there and seeing Ladd go before him is kind of like, huh? Why? Because Tyreek Hill has the likes to be a top 5 wide receiver this season, right? Like the ceiling is there because we know when Tua's on, when he's healthy and everything is going the way it needs to be. Disregard last season. What about 2023? It's like this guy is still that guy, and he's proven that to us this offseason. I mean, he's still running at his peak. Like, he ran a freaking 100-meter at 10.15 seconds, and that's like beating his 18-year-old record, which was at 1.9. So it's like, 10.9. So it's like crazy that he is still at his peak, still running this fast and still have that ability, where I'm looking at Ladd like, we got what we got last year. Like, what if he hit that ceiling? Like, what if that's it? Like, that's like a high-end wide receiver 2 at best for me, where I can't even see myself putting Ladd in the top 10 conversation right now.
All right. I mean, I do want to
my top 10.
I do want to dive into that. I want to dive into that. I mean, first I want to ask you, Florio, of those 4, which one are you picking?
Ladd all day. And Tyreek isn't even number 2 for me. Terry McLaurin would be. I'm a big believer that when you see a sign of decline in a player, you should run. And maybe last year was just a down year for Tyreek with how weird it was from the start and everything. But like, Marcus, you know this, right? Like, in baseball, they never pay guys who steal bases because speed is the first skill set to go. Mm-hmm. So when you're Tyreek Hill and speed is everything for you, when you have a down year, at post 30 years old, I get really concerned. Plus, his quarterback is so, like, the hardest quarterback to tie yourself to in fantasy right now.
Yeah. So that was going to be my question. Is like, was last year the sign of decline, or was it that he had Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson for a large stretch of the season? He was
pissed off. I would be too. Unhappy. Like, he's not getting the looks at all. Jonnu's getting everything within the line of scrimmage. Like, I would be mad too if I'm sprinting.
He doesn't have that anymore. He doesn't have that anymore.
Well, look,
he wasn't great when Tua was out there either.
Because Tua wasn't great himself, but he still maintained completing the passes 5 yards from scrimmage. Like, it's one of those things where it was just a wash year. Because, like you said, it started off rocky, like, before this even started. So it's like one of those things that you're looking at Tyreek Hill just going through the emotions, chalking this season up. I mean, you played with Tua at your peak at 2023, but I didn't see any decline in this man's speed. Like, if we're talking about his God-given gift, it's still there. It's still there. Like, his talent has not left. I think this year just should be chalked up as, like, it was a bad year between the Dolphins that, like, in totality. Like, this was the worst Dolphins offense executed by Mike McDaniel the whole time he's been there.
They do the deep ball the fewest of any team in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Lowest percentage.
That's crazy. Because I think it's by design. Like, I think they don't want Tua holding the ball in the pocket.
So
that's a different perspective there, my friend.
I think that's why, because we talked about how much they manufactured touches for Jonnu Smith, right? It was trying to get the ball out early. I think there's also something to be said for Devon Achane and how much of a contributor he is in the passing game with Tua versus without Tua, right? When Tua's there, Devon Achane is a PPR god, right? I mean, that guy's catching all kind of passes. Without Tua, he's not seeing those sort of looks. And these are all things that we're taking away from Tyreek Hill. I mean, there is the fair question of whether or not a guy whose game is based heavily on speed is going to start to decline, right? I mean, he's 31 years old. Obviously has run a ton of routes, has seen a ton of targets. I could see him getting back over 1,000 yards. I could see him getting back to, that 1,200 yard mark that he was with the Chiefs for a number of years. I don't think we see the 1,700 yard Tyreek Hill again. I don't know that happens this year.
If Tua's on the field, maybe.
But here's the thing. If people believe that, if people even remotely believed that, they would be drafting him alongside Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, right? Like, he's not even in that conversation with anybody right now because I don't think people believe that he's a 1,700 yard receiver. I think 1,200 yards, I think where he's going right now, people are like, yeah, I see 11, 1,200, 1,300 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns. I think that's where people are drafting him right now, which, puts him in that group of guys that we're talking about. For the record, I'm with you, Florio. I would probably take Terry McLaurin out of that group.
Oh, I would take Ladd over Terry, but I do love me some Terry.
Oh,
we are split 3 ways on this, man. That's insane.
So then let's dive into the Ladd talk then here, right? Because you asked the question on Twitter, LaQuan, what if Ladd hit his ceiling already? So, well, first we should make the case for somebody who has him in the top 10. I mean,
yeah,
1,149 yards, 7 touchdowns, 82 catches, and you think there's room to grow, Florio?
Yeah, because one, he got off slow, like out the gate slow last year, but from week 11 on, he averaged just under 19 fantasy points per game. Like that is elite. There's like, that's like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb territory, and Ladd McConkey was there. Plus, this is all kudos to the NFL research team, but he was 5th in fantasy points per target last year. He was 3rd in receiving yards per route, 6th in fantasy points per route. He was 4th in catch rate. He led all receivers in yards per target. Like, this is as a rookie. He was one of the very best against man coverage as a rookie, which, remember, when he was coming in, it was like, this guy is a zone buster, but man might give him difficulty in the NFL level. He was like, nope, I'm one of the best at it already. So, and he was one of the best slot receivers last year as well. And we know he could play out wide. He could win downfield. Like, I loved Ladd as a prospect. And then he exceeded expectations as a rookie in his first year there, in Justin Herbert's first year there in that new offense. So I think their chemistry can only get better. And I do think we are drafting Ladd towards his ceiling. But if the Chargers throw more this year, and I think that's all it takes, like Ladd McConkey could exceed this value because he is that good, in my opinion.
One, I agree. I think we are drafting Ladd pretty much at his ceiling right now. The thing that I worry about is I'm not sure the Chargers are going to throw more than they did last year.
Bingo.
I think they threw more last year than people realize.
I think they did.
No,
and that's why I'm sort of like, I don't know that they want to up the ante on that anymore. I was looking, a Jim Harbaugh quarterback in the NFL. He's never had a quarterback throw for 3,900 yards, let alone 4,000. He's never had a quarterback throw for 3,900 yards. Last year, Justin Herbert had the highest yardage total ever for a Jim Harbaugh quarterback.
He's also probably the best.
He's probably the best of them
he's ever had.
Well, here's the, I think he's the best passer, right?
Yes.
I mean, he had Colin Kaepernick, who's a different kind of quarterback.
Yeah.
He had Alex Smith, who was a different kind of quarterback. I think Justin Herbert is just the best pure passer that he's ever had. And he threw the ball 500 times last year. Like, I don't know that a Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman offense is going to do that consistently.
What you're hinting at is the offense stabilizing, getting back to what they originally wanted to do, because Justin Herbert was averaging 22 passes per game before the bye. And that's because J.K. Dobbins was getting the ball like 15, 20 times, averaging 2.9 yards per carry, and it wasn't working. So once they hit out of that bye, that's when it jumped up to the 30 plus pass attempts per game. And that's where you see the surge late in the season from Ladd McConkey by situational targets, because who else was there? Because Quentin Johnson is a failed project at this point. Will Disley was your second, third best option.
Gavin getting in the chat here.
We're punting on Quentin Johnston, huh? We're done. You called him a failed project. You just called him a failed project.
At this, you fed him 90 targets. He barely even cracked over 50 catches, man. You're dropping the ball in crucial moments downfield. That's why you bring in Trey Harris, and that's why I say this offense stabilizes, because they get Amari and Hampton. They get Najee Harris. They get that 1-2 punch that they want to run the ball. Now Ladd is seeing less volume. Herbert's throwing the ball less. So how are we hitting top 10 conversation?
You don't think he sees 112 targets?
Oh, I think he sees that many.
112 targets? Sure.
Yeah, that's what he had last year, where he finished
do that again.
12th best wide receiver in total points.
I think he could do that again.
Again, what if he hit his ceiling at 12? That's it. That's it. That's all we're going to get.
No, but if he, I don't see a world where he doesn't get more. Because to Gavin's point that producer Gavin put in the chat, Ladd McConkey was hurt early on in the season, and he still had 112 targets. Like, I just don't see that number going down. And if it goes up, I think he's because Quentin Johnson had 91 targets, like you said. Josh Palmer's gone. He had 65. That was their third most targeted player.
But Mike Williams is back.
Yeah, Mike Williams isn't going to get 65 targets.
You don't think Mike Williams can get 65 targets in this offense? I think
Mike Williams had like 6 targets last year.
Well, but
that's because he called it Taylor Ham.
Right?
They fed him Taylor Ham.
Oh man, we're doing this again. I mean, I think he can get 65 targets in this offense. Now I'm looking. Yeah, I mean, he was around 90 targets most of the time. When that happened. I think he can get. So you got Mike Williams is back. Trey Harris, who may or may not be that dude. 50, he's going to get some opportunities there. Who knows? Obviously they're going to get Amari and Hampton and Najee Harris involved. I mean, I think if anything, I could see McConkey. Maybe there's a little bit of improvement. I just don't see him going to the moon this year.
I have to correct. Gavin didn't mean Ladd McConkey. He meant Justin Herbert was hurt. That's why they didn't throw early on. And he was. I forgot about that. Like that's right. He was banged up.
But why the sudden change after the bye? Because they only put up 10 points in back-to-back games against the Steelers and Chiefs. And again, JK was running that rock. Gus Edwards, where did he go? He didn't exist. Like, we have to add this run game that just got added this year to where you have a durable running back. You don't have to worry about Najee getting hurt like a J.K. Dobbins and taking a step back in the playbook, hoping that Gus Edwards or Kamani Vidal teardrop, but it's just like at the end of the day, we're not really looking at the red flags. Like we're just kind of putting him to the moon. That's my only argument because again, there's no way I'm taking Ladd over Tyreek Hill or AJ Brown. This is what's happening in drafts right now.
No, I wouldn't take him over. AJ Brown is the most disrespected he should be a first round pick.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The question for the poll was like, hey, it's round 2. You need a wide receiver 1. How are we comfortable with Ladd as our wide receiver 1? That's
how
my
are we
only
comfortable
issue
with
there.
Tyreek, in my opinion.
As a one, because he's hitting those heights before, and we know what that offense can be.
I'd always rather youth than a player facing an age. Personally,
I get the muscle memory argument. I do. Yeah.
How many? So what? You're expecting less than 112 targets or around 112 targets?
I'm expecting him to mirror exactly what happened last year in terms of volume. He was a top 12
wide receiver.
Well, hold on. In terms of volume, maybe, but I don't expect the yardage. I don't expect the touchdowns because it's going to get distributed between the new additions.
The touchdown number is the one that I think makes me the most nervous. Right. But I could see that come down to like
4,
5.
Why though?
5.
He is an elite route runner.
Because touchdowns are fickle beasts, man.
Yeah, but Quentin Johnson had 8. Even if you give those 8 to Trey Harris, like
this is where somebody from Twitter busts in.
So this goes back to the point.
Somebody from Twitter busts in out of breath and is like, but most of those were blown coverages. Like that's what happens with Quentin Johnson.
You're saying this is his ceiling? I view it as like, why would this not? If we're saying okay, he's gonna do this if nothing changes. If everything goes wrong for him, that would be his floor, in my opinion.
Okay, so this could be his floor in your case, but what I'm saying is that this is his ceiling by situational targets. There was nobody there that can earn more targets than him or earn more production or earn that trust from Justin Herbert. Like,
who's going to have more targets than Ladd McConkey this year?
Nobody's going to have more targets, but they're going to have
on the
more
Chargers?
trust.
Probably nobody.
Nobody.
I mean, I think my concern is just more that will the passing volume increase? And I'm not certain.
That's what I'm saying. That's
I mean,
all
they
I'm
were
arguing.
Still bottom 10 in passing last year. Like they were 10th, I believe, in lowest pass percentage. So
they were like, yeah, I think 10th or 11th, something like that.
I think the room for improvement outweighs the room for him to decline. Personally,
I ain't saying he's going to decline.
I think decline. I think he's just plateau. Maybe a plateau.
It's like, this is what we got.
So if he as a rookie, if he was top 12 and that's the plateau, drafting him 10th makes sense.
Situational targets. That's just what I'm going to stand on. Situational targets. Nobody there was good.
I'm just here.
I mean, do we know if anyone's good now?
We don't know anything.
Not 100%, but again, then he would just mirror what he did last year. I'm not saying he's going to decline.
But But he was a rookie who got out the gate slow and then like was elite. So like
but who's to say that slow start doesn't start back again because they wanted to run the ball. That the 53%, they were the second highest run percentage those first 5 weeks. That's what the identity of the offense is. And what tells us that is the coaching staff.
But to Gavin's point, Justin Herbert was hurt to start the year, and Ladd McConkey was a rookie who didn't really get all the camp reps with Justin Herbert.
All right.
I'm sitting here just taking this all in because I'm going to be on the clock really soon in SFB. and look, there's a list of wide receivers that are going to be available to me, and that's one of them. So like, I got to figure out, like I'm sitting here taking all these arguments in and trying to weigh them in my head to figure out what
I did take AJ Brown over Ladd McConkey in SFB, but that's
here's the thing. For all that conversation,
like AJ, I have is like 5th or 6th in my rankings. Like he is very underrated.
So there are a handful of names right now on my list that without debate will rank ahead of Ladd McConkey. So it might not even be an issue for me. But you know, I'm just.
So hold up, if you don't mind, real quick. I have him at 10. These are some of the names behind him. Like Drake London. I know you guys are going to take Drake London.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Tee Higgins. So this poll, they were in this poll. Rasheed Rice, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, JSN, Mike Evans, Devontae. Like,
yes,
I think we're.
I'm taking Ladd over all of those guys.
I think we're sleeping on Tee Higgins. I do.
We are.
I think we're sleeping on Tee
only reason
Higgins.
I don't like Tee Higgins is because he's going to give you like 12 games.
Okay, I mean, I think that's fair,
core
but
of the fantasy season.
yeah, it depends which 12 games is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I just think with Tee Higgins, I think, you know, especially as long as Trey Hendrickson is unhappy and not there, that's a bad defense. And that's a team that's going to have to throw the ball a lot. And yeah.
But this is my problem with ceilings too, though. Be like, if Tee Higgins gives us 17 games with this type of production, with this same setup, with the same passing volume, the same bad defense, how is he not in conversation of top 10? How is he not? How can Chase and Tee Higgins both finish inside the top 12 then? Like, these are realities that can happen. I have a hard time saying that Ladd is a top 12 lock this year. That's my
Ladd has more yards as a rookie than Tee Higgins has ever had in a career season.
Because he's hurt, man. It's not fair.
But even when he played 16 games, he never got to that number.
Them's the breaks. I mean, those sort of things you got to factor in, right? Injuries happen.
7 touchdowns.
Was Burrow hurt that year? Hold up, was Burrow hurt that year?
Burrow's
that Tee Higgins
hurt like
played
every year, it feels like, right?
Maybe I got to look, but 7 touchdowns is the second most. Would be the second most Higgins has ever had in his career.
That's better.
I love this. I love that.
Burrow played 16 games that year.
He did play 16 games that year.
16.
He did play 16
I just checked
games that year. Yeah. I still think Tee Higgins is being underrated.
He's a great number 2.
But of those 4, he probably is the guy I take last.
I have Tyreek last.
I'm taking Adams. Taking Adams. No bias.
Yeah, no bias at all. As you sit here wearing your Rams pullover, your Rams quarter zip, for sure.
It's sleek, man. I felt good putting this on.
So if you are any part of fantasy social media, you have seen plenty of people talking about the Scott Fish Bowl. Hashtag SFB15 is underway. I know there were live drafts across the country. LaQuan, you were at one in Vegas several weeks ago. The slow drafts are underway. So we will be making picks all throughout the next few days and weeks. You know, I'm glad that my division has been very chill. We haven't gotten a lot of OTC messages. People not freaking out about things because it's July 8th. There's a long way to go before we actually have real football. Like, there's no reason to rush through this and get this thing done right now. But I guess first off, what division, what draft position were you guys in, LaQuan?
So I was at the 8th spot, and I am in athletics, Las Vegas athletics. So
I saw your text. Stop it. I just saw what you texted me, LaQuan. Stop it. Stop it.
I just hit him with that OTC.
I thought you were hitting him with the stop it because he called him the Vegas Athletics.
Oh no, I don't acknowledge that they're the West Sacramento A's. That's what they are. That's what
Sorry,
they are.
I don't keep up with the base of ball, but yeah, I was at the 8th spot, man.
The base of ball.
All right, so 8th. I'm sorry, you were in the A's division. Is that what it is? You're in the A's.
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, with the homies and stuff over there.
Got it.
Kendall, Troy, Sam.
Was your
Maddie.
Vegas draft kind of like the league Vegas draft, where like people are half paying attention, but they're half in the pool and drinking and stuff.
I was in the pool and I was on the clock for a while, and people were looking for me, and then they looked in the pool like, "Yo, where you at?" Like, oh, my bad. It happens. It's Vegas.
All right. So wait, what division, what draft spot are you in, Florio?
I'm in the Bills division. And that was only because the Knicks were taken at the time. I thought the Knicks were winning it all, so I wanted to be amongst those fans. I'm pick 5.
All right. I am in the USC Trojans division. I landed with the first pick. These were all drawn at random, so I got the number 1 pick. And I started it with Lamar Jackson. He was my first pick overall.
That's who I got at 5th.
All right. I knew I wanted a quarterback. It's a super flex league. You don't have to start a quarterback, but I feel like you're at a disadvantage if you don't, have at least one, possibly 2. And I knew that with so many teams and having to wait all the way for it to come back to me, I probably wasn't going to be thrilled with the quarterback option. So I'm like, let me just get one now that I know I'm going to feel comfortable with, and then we'll figure out the rest of it.
You get a point per carry. So like that goes a long way with Lamar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the other part of this too. Scoring in Scott Fishbowl, for those of you who don't know, it's a little bit different. It also depends on the platform. The tournament's played across multiple platforms. What is it? If you're playing on MFL, on My Fantasy League, it's 1 point per reception. If you're playing on Sleeper, it's 2.5 points per reception.
Oh, yes.
Question for you guys that maybe you don't know the answer to. What happens if like the finals is an MFL team versus a Sleeper team? Like, what scoring do they go by?
Yeah, I would think between Scott Fish and Ryan McDowell and all the people who help run this thing, I would think they have planned for that potentially.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a really good question, but yeah, I don't know the answer.
That extra point and a half per catch adds up quick.
Adds up quickly. So I mean, knowing that now, Florio, you're in the sleeper leagues. LaQuan, I'm guessing yours was a sleeper league as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, since your team is actually done, right? You did the live draft, you finished it up on Sleeper. Did you have a particular strategy besides like, I'm just gonna go chill in the pool and sip tequila? Like, what was your strategy for this thing?
This is how cocky I was, because after my first 2 picks, I got my drink and I went straight to the pool. So I ended up with Chase and Puka Nacua with that 2.5 point per reception. I'm going to be dominating just with these 2 there. So that was my strategy after that. After that, I was like, you know what? Let me go back to the board. I'm going to get James Cook. I'm going to get Bo Nix. And after that, I got RJ Harvey. And then after that, it was a blur.
the cranberry started kicking in.
Yeah, the cranberry. That's what it was. That's what it was kicking in. I mean, Florio, so your first pick was Lamar Jackson at the 5th spot. You are several rounds deep. What do you have so far?
So in the 2nd round, I texted you guys about it yesterday. I really wanted to go Puka Nacua, but Joe Burrow fell there, and I was like, how many Lamar Burrow teams are going to be in this huge tournament? Mm-hmm. So I decided to go Lamar Burrow, and then I went A.J. Brown in round 3, who I'll continue to say it. I think he is super underrated. Like, he was on pace last year over 17 games for 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. It's an average A.J. Brown Eagles season. And then in the 4th round, I took Terry McLaurin, who I also think is being underrated. Last year, he averaged the 2nd most fantasy points per target, and he scored a career high fantasy points on the 2nd fewest targets he's ever had. And we saw the Commanders throw the ball a lot more in the second half of the season. I think it was by design, like let's get Jaden comfortable and stuff. So I think Terry, you guys could call me crazy. I don't have him ranked in my top 10, but I think he brings top 10, top 5 upside again. And I'm cool. Like he doesn't go anywhere close to top 10.
No, I mean, I think that's fair because I do think the upside is high for Terry McLaurin, especially another year with him and Daniels together. I'm very bullish on the Commanders' offense this year. At least the passing game. The backfield's like, I don't know.
Remember last year when we debated Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler,
and this year was none.
We don't talk about either of them.
Yeah, the answer was neither, really, when it was all said and done.
The answer is Deebo Samuel this year.
Yes, that's the thing. I don't even think that, not for fantasy at least.
It's Jaden Daniels.
You guys know my feelings on Deebo, that he's a good real life football player who doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy.
LQ, what are your feelings on him?
Well, he likes him a lot better now that he's not in San Francisco.
I want to say it looks like it's burning down over there in San Francisco.
It's not burning down.
I'm very in on the Depot Samuel
because you put in Slack a blog aggregated article that sourced other blog aggregated articles on their rumors about Brandon Ayuk. Like there was.
Like you said, I shared that with everyone.
I literally peel back the curtain. LaQuan sent us this thing about like Brandon Ayuk trade rumors, and like, look, I've been sort of on vacation and not like fully plugged in for a while, so like I was like, what? And so I read this article and I'm like looking for any kind of source, and it's just like this blogger who's just like, so this is what I think, and then like as a backup source referred to like linked to another blogger who's like, I suggest that the Niners do this, and I'm like,
Dove Kleiman.
I was just
like that.
I was just like, oh, these like wannabe Dove Klymans, right? I'm just like, I read it like two or three times. I started Googling other things, and I'm like, okay, I can ignore this. Like, there's nothing there.
I'm here for the hate, and I will promote it.
I know you are. So like, I was like, okay. After like being like mildly concerned for a little bit, I went back to doing, eating ham or whatever I was doing.
October 7th. 49ers at Rams. That's going to be a fun one for this show.
Oh, and Levi's South?
Oh, that's crazy. When's the last time you guys won a Super Bowl?
It's okay.
I think I was 2 years old last time you guys won a bowl.
That's
know?
Okay.
And is it Bang Bang Gang or is it Blank Blank? Because we have not seen you guys show up.
Okay. Not show up. I mean, we come to your house and take over. So
and you guys leave losing where it matters. So it's going to be crazy when we get a Super Bowl at your house at Levi's Stadium. It's going to be SoFi North soon, by the way.
No. That's not gonna happen.
Is that where it is this year?
It's
yes,
it is. Levi's Stadium this year, for sure.
That's right.
And the Rams are winning. And the Rams got the ring in the bag already.
In the bag. I will say this. I was tasked with putting together win-loss records for NFL.com. I mean, I'm not the only one, but several of us are doing win-loss records for every team. And it does. I don't want to say this out loud with you listening, but like
earmuffs.
Yeah, like, the Rams are going to have they're going to be a good team this year. Like, I'm not going to deny that. They are going to be very good. I actually think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to be, they're going to be a problem for a lot of people.
How many wins did you give the Bills?
What do I have the Bills at? I've got the Bills at 12 and, they have the Bills at 13 and 4. 13 and 4.
Ooh. I'll sign up for that all year.
Wow. Hell yeah.
So I haven't gone through all the teams yet. I'm about halfway through, but yeah. So
you haven't done the Niners yet?
I've not done the Niners yet, but so the way I'm doing it is as I fill in wins, losses I'm just doing alphabetical order. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going alphabetical order. Like, so as I fill in wins and losses for one team, I try to, do the corresponding game on the schedule grid. So that way I don't have to try to memorize things. So like, like things are looking good. Things are looking good for the Commanders.
Wait, you go through each team's schedule, like, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah, I have to do this for
wow,
for the picks site on NFL.com. So yeah,
nice.
Anyway, before we get out of here, I should tell you that I'm not on the clock yet. I'm on deck for my second pick. Like, I literally have only made one pick in the Scott Fish Bowl. I got Lamar Jackson. Because it's pretty much just a bunch of flex spots. You don't have to start. It's not like you have to start quarterback, running back, wide receiver. I do think I'm going to go very wide receiver heavy on this roster. Some of the guys that are still available at wide receiver: Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Nico Collins, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, AJ Brown. Those guys are all still there right now.
I like AJ.
All but one of them will be available when there's one person like that I'm waiting for to pick. So that means all but one of those guys probably is going to be available. I would think one of these receivers is going to go. But then I get to double tap. I'm going to double tap the position probably when it
Florio's going to say Ladd.
No, I was saying Amon-Ra just might be a little over him in this format because of the 2.5 per catch.
Yeah.
That's the...
Got you.
So I honestly, part of me is like, if Arsba is still there,
you go St. Brown and AJ Brown. And
that's what I'm saying. I just double up, we get down with the Brown. And, we go Amon-Ra and AJ if that's what it's there. If that's what's there.
That'd be a really good start.
Yeah. So, I'd have Lamar potentially, Amon-Ra and AJ Brown in the first 3 rounds. I'd be very, very happy with that. So we'll see.
And then you could get Juwan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall and all of
we didn't
LQ's
get into,
favorite
honestly,
receivers.
we didn't get into the fact that, and I know LaQuan's gonna like poo-poo this because he just refuses to like be objective. Well, I mean, just because he refuses to be objective when it comes to like the Rams and the 49ers. Like he just physically cannot do that.
I loved Jordan Mason last year. What are we talking about?
Because you hated on Christian McCaffrey. Like it comes like that's what it is. It's not that you love Jordan Mason. You just wanted to dump on Christian McCaffrey. That's all. But we do need to talk in the very near future about how it does feel like Niners receivers are being undervalued right now from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
I think they are. I mean, I just think like the Brandon Ayuk thing, I don't understand. I'll have to, again, that was part of my deep dive into these rumors, these trade rumors that were going around. I'm like, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe that's why the ADP is as low as it is. I just feel like something's weird. I don't really understand.
Who's the 49ers backup quarterback?
Mac Jones.
Oh, it is Mac Jones. That's right. Because
oh man, this is setting up perfectly for LQ to just be on the Mac Jones trade again this year.
Yes.
I mean, that was the joke, right? Kyle Shanahan finally got Mac Jones. Like if you believe he got bullied into taking Trey Lance and he wanted Mac Jones, now he finally got Mac Jones. 2 teams later, 2 teams.
Return of the Mac. Let's go.
Hey man. Hey, look, y'all laugh, right? But like, look at what he did with Sam Darnold, like, right? Kyle Shanahan made Nick Mullins a thing for a few weeks, right? Like, what? You don't think he could do something with Michael McCorkle-Jones if given the time to work with him?
I think he could, but I think LQ is going to be driving that Brock Purdy hate by telling people to stash Mac Jones off the waiver wire and stuff.
He
made T-Mid look very mid, I'll tell you that.
Hey, Gavin, can we do a thing? Can we just create like a flashing graphic so that whenever LaQuan says something bad about the 49ers, we can just put up like, parental discretion advised or something like that, right? Like something just so folks sort of know what's happening here. So like we can just like, alert people like, all right, like maybe he has something or maybe this is just LaQuan talking out of his backside again. Like we just have to make sure that people know.
I like Juwan Jennings for fantasy this year. He's undervalued for sure. He's the wide receiver 1. I think Ricky Pearsall is a little overrated, but I see the vision of what he can be. We haven't seen enough. That's just my stance. We haven't seen enough. We should
wait and do something because like otherwise we'll just spend another 20 minutes talking about this. So and we're
just gonna fight.
We're already over an hour. We're gonna do this another show because I actually do think there's a legitimate conversation to be had about this wide receiver room for sure. So, it was good to be back with you guys.
This was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It's good to be back together again. Obviously, we had a lot to say. We had a lot to say because it's been a while. We're back with you on Thursday for another edition of the Cheat Sheet. Have you guys watched Land of Bad yet?
Not yet.
I totally forgot we had to watch it.
Yeah, I really
right now.
I remembered yesterday afternoon. I was like, oh crap, we got a movie to watch. Yeah, Land of Bad for the Cheat Sheet coming up on Thursday. So we'll be back with you live on our YouTube channel. So set your notifications. Get alerted when we go live there. So you can be ready for that. In the meantime, thanks to Gavin for sitting and listening to us ramble for an hour and stuff. That was great. That'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well. It's good to be back with you guys. We will see you again on Thursday.